That was the moment Julian Kynaston got involved in Menopause. That's when I said, I'll bring all of my communicative branding skills to help Heather Jackson and Sam Simmons to build Gen M. I think Gen M is very, very interested. I was asked to get involved with that and to chair that.
Help us understand, what is Gen M?
So Gen M has, let me step back and just say the word menopause out loud. And I think pre-Gen M, had you asked me to talk to you about menopause, I'd have probably started by saying, oh, it's a bit like that C word. It's not spoken about. Les Dawson used to muffle it in his sitcom, you know, when he did that skit between the two old women. It was menopause like that. It was not said. It's kind of a Peter Kay word, isn't it? And I didn't really understand it until I met Heather Jackson, Sam Simmons, known Heather some time, and Heather explained to me that there were at any one time about 15.5 million women in the UK suffered from menopause, and she asked me to name some symptoms, and I said, well, hot flashes, well, I've heard of that. Libido, bad libido, not good libido, I've heard of that one. Mood swings, I got 3, and there's 48 symptoms. So at that point, I was pricking my ears up at these interesting stats, because Heather's view was 48 symptoms, 15.5 million women, there are no products here to serve them. And those symptoms could be, well, if you've night sweats, and if you've seen night sweats, hot flashes, all that kind of thing. I mean, surely there's a brand of nightie or pyjama out there that's got technical fabrics. There wasn't. You know, surely there's products to alleviate A, B, C, D, and E, because for all the fact that HRT exists, the vast majority of women don't want to prescribe to HRT. They're looking for more natural symptoms, and they did a piece of research which said women wanted and felt that brands were failing to serve them at this time. And actually, I thought about that, and I thought, well, probably only brands can even bring the word out of the darkness into the light. So I was getting all these facts thrown at me and thinking, yes, it's interesting, but my moment came when I picked up in the press in the very early days that there was a guy called David Salmon, and somebody said, you should go and talk to David, really quite interesting. And I went to his house in Keighley, and David was a normal bloke, not meant to sound disrespectful. He was really keen to show me his collection of corgi cars that he'd got. He'd retired from his profession. His wife's adorned with pictures of him and his wife on all the cruises and everything else, and so on and so forth. And he started to tell me about Linda. And he said, you know, Linda is the life and soul of Keighley, a village called Keighley. She used to work at the Sainsbury's down there. Her till would always be the busiest, this kind of thing. And as a family, I thought, this is incredible, because they'd actually moved their mum in opposite, or they'd moved to her, but they were right opposite the street because she got Alzheimer's. He said, you can set your clock by Linda, because every morning she'll go make the meal, every night she'll make the meal. You know, that beautiful family devotion that is often lacking in society nowadays, but set against the backdrop of being just an incredibly normal family. And it was funny, he said, because this is menopausal symptoms, Linda started to suffer from, he says, just wasn't her, just stopped being Linda. And this is this life and soul of the party, just stopped being her, and didn't want to go to work. This was a job that didn't love vehemently. Yeah. And he said he came to the fore one night when she went across with the evening meal at 6 o'clock, and he knew something was wrong at 6:10, because she'd been back at 6:05. Yeah. He was that regimented. Got to 6:30, and he went over and he opened the door and he looked up the stairs, and Linda was hanging from the light fitting on the top of the steps. She'd taken her life. And I mean, you know, it's a shiver down the back moment. You can only imagine what it was like for him. And he'd lived for 12, 24 months, probably blaming himself, but blissfully not knowing why she'd done that. And then and he made the news because he watched an episode of our local news where they were talking about menopause, and someone on there was talking about the symptoms. And he watched that program and he went, Linda, 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 Linda. And two emotions went through his body. Firstly, then she had menopause. I now know why she took her own life. And that was almost a bit of closure, which quickly turned into a bit of anger, but if I'd have known, we might have been able to do something about it. That was the moment Julian Kynaston got involved in menopause. That's when I said, I'll bring all of my communicative branding skills to help Heather Jackson and Sam Smith to build Gen M. And we are 2.5 years on from that point, and they've now signed up every major retailer in the UK. We've over 100 brands that we've developed a symbol called the M-tick. You pass a criteria. So if you are a product that can help any one of those 48 symptoms, and you claim you can, you've got to pass a strict criteria to prove you can. You can then carry the M-tick. And now there are aisles being built, a category being built in the multiples, Boots, Sainsbury's, where you can shop menopause product. And I think when I closed the loop on it, particularly perhaps because Linda worked in Sainsbury's, perhaps if she'd have seen that and picked those products up and read those products, she'd have known what was wrong with her in a way that she didn't.